Set 6 is being played currently on Whirlwind. Spawning in the bottom left-hand position as the Red Terran from SK Telecom T1. He just defeated SOS. His name is Fantasy, and he's trying to end the match here and now.
His opponent spawning as a yellow Zerg on the top right-hand position in round of 4, and now trying to drag the match into the ace match. His name is Soulkey.
I have to say that for a while, Zero, he was kind of the star player from Woonjin Stars as far as Zergs went. This is like back in Brood War. And then over time, Soulkey started creeping up on him. And now, I'm pretty sure Soulkey's taken over Zero as the best Zerg on the team.
There was a small rivalry between Soulkey and Zero. Remember, Soulkey did play in the qualifiers in a few Pro League matches, but what really defined him was an all-kill in the playoffs.
I also want to mention that Fantasy, when it comes to matches against Soulkey, Soulkey has been way ahead in StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2. He's undefeated. So
yeah, Soulkey, he had a small rival between himself and Zero inside the team. Of course, back in Brood War, Zero had more impact than Soulkey because Zero, he made it to the finals of the last MSL, made it to the round of 4 and last Brood War also.
Yeah.
Soulkey did not achieve any of those things, but however, he was still a solid player for Woonjin Stars.
Certainly, he was. Looks like we're going to see a command center first from Fantasy here. Soulkey, we were talking so much about Zero here. Soulkey going for the cross scout, and it's going to work out for him because he's going to see exactly what his opponent's up to. We'll go ahead and scout that command center first. Be annoying with this drone here that's going to force Fantasy to bring another SCV down to the natural to kind of deal with this drone here. And that's exactly what he's going to do, actually bringing 2 down just to be safe.
Actually, he's going to replace one and then use the other one to attack the drone.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
there you go.
Soulkey getting an expansion behind this, following it up. Making a spawning pool and not going for the early gas just yet. Something we've been seeing a little bit more often from Zergs, but, you know, clearly fine to not go for that faster gas. Question is, will we see that fast third hatchery from Soulkey, since he did see the hatch first? That drone completely getting denied.
Well, there's still a gap on the top side, and he could have just run around, but I guess not today.
Not today. That's not something that drone's interested in. If he can't get in on the right side, that drone is not going into the main base.
I don't know why he just decided to pull out instead of getting a scouting in the main base, but of course, if the command center does go down first, Soulkey, he exactly knows what Fantasy is going for. No Terran player against Zerg goes for the double racks after the expansion. Instead, they go for the racks and then the gas.
Exactly. Yeah. No reason not to, really. We have Paralinks on the way from our Zerg player. Getting a pair of queens as well here. Looks like Soulkey is not going to go for that fast third just yet. He may get that later on. No gas from him yet as well.
It just seems like it's hinting towards a faster third at this point because we're not seeing any gas from Soulkey. Instead, he's just droning up heavily right now, getting a double queen at his main base.
Indeed. It's Coach Boxer right there. And the
Coach Lee?
Coach Lee. I could have probably guessed that.
Well, pick one. Kim, Lee, or Park?
It's one of them.
For example, look at Ghost right there. What is his last name? Kim, Lee, or Park?
Is it Lee?
No, it's actually Go.
You're an idiot. I hate you. Just kidding, man. All right. Well, we have the reactor Hellions on the way from Fantasy. The very standard opening from Terrans against Zerg. Happens basically every game here. You know, getting those Hellions out early on allows them to do a good amount of scouting, apply a little bit of pressure as well. It's nice. It's just a good build all around. And we have more queens coming out from Soulkey as well, so he's going to be able to really start spreading his creep. And fast third command center on the way from Fantasy as well, though Soulkey should be able to scout that pretty fast here.
Oh yeah, definitely. The Overlord is in position for a perfect scouting as soon as he gets both of them into position around 7 minutes. And he's just going to sacrifice maybe 1 or 2 Overlords just to make sure what Fantasy is going for.
Fantasy already starting to do a complete wall-off here. No reason not to do that with his supply depots. And he's also going to have a few Widow Mines out as well. Getting a Tech Lab as well. Grabbing some Hellions behind this.
4 gases on 2 bases with no dirt base.
So he's getting the double Evil Chamber. We could see some pretty fast Muse out from him. It's certainly possible, but he's putting on the Roach Warren. Putting down the Roach Warren, though, at his ramp, so he's not too keen on trying to hide that Roach Tech.
And it's not even like the Roach Warren went down at like 5 minutes and a few seconds. It's around 6 minutes, 30 seconds between That and 7 minutes, which is kind of standard these days. You know, they have to get the roaches out. They use it to defend against the early Hellions a little bit, and then transition into defending against the possible Hellbats from the Terran player.
We do have the +1 ranged attack and armor on the way for Soulkey here. So it looks like he will end up committing to this Roach pressure and tech. His layer... Roach Hydra, potentially, yeah. Certainly possible here. Double engineering bay on the way for Fantasy as well. He's not taken the gases at his natural quite yet. Hasn't really teched too far into the starport side of things. You know, moving around the map with those Hellions, trying to figure out what his opponent's up to. And there's the third hatchery on the way for Soulkey.
Well, right now, Fantasy, he's in no position to go for the harassment, so, you know, he should have decided early on that he wants to focus more on getting a lot of Marines out and playing an economic game instead of trying to harass his opponent earlier on. What this allows Fantasy, you know, this does deny Fantasy from actually going for the harassments around this point in the game, but as soon as he starts taking the third base and starts getting a starport out, he's going to have infinite Marines, infinite Widow Mines, and Medivacs coming out, and he could go for the harassment then.
Indeed he can. So 16 roaches on the way here. That's a pretty solid 19 roaches. This is actually going to be pretty dangerous here from Soulkey. We have a starport on the way here, and no Marauders on the way yet. We just have constant Widow Mine production, which is useful, but you know, roaches, they're not bad at tanking the shots from the Widow Mines here. And the Hellions, they don't really work well against the Widow Mines, and actually really smart moving around the map, going to try to avoid these Hellions for as long as possible. Can he actually sneak around the entire map?
Well, he does reveal it at the last second, and Fantasy finally finds the abnormal count of roaches by his opponent.
This is going to be a little bit scary for Fantasy. He's got decent defense here. He's putting down 2 more bunkers. But the problem is that roach count is very high right now.
The Hellions.
The Hellions, though, this could change everything. Soulkey, he is going to lose a lot of units here. There's only a few roaches at this location, and the Hellions are going to be countered at this point.
It just didn't find the right amount of drones, and now it's Soulkey's turn to go for the attack.
Soulkey pressing in here. Oh, the SCV is moving off the mineral line at the worst possible time. And they're just going to go in here and snipe back and forth these supply depots. Actually, no, moving back. Soulkey happy, I guess, with what happened currently here.
Well, he just can't press forward. He saw the number of Widow Mines with the Overseer over there. He knows that if he just mismicros once and one of the roaches goes a little bit too far ahead, then it's going to kill everything. So Soulkey trying to play as careful as possible, but he is producing more roaches behind this burrow on the way.
Burrow and tunneling claws that's the really important thing here. It just finished up, and no, that command center, that's going to have to get out of there immediately. Soulkey, though, he's just going to back up here a little bit. He still does have that Overseer, though. It's going to be really interesting to see how Soulkey utilizes tunneling claws here, because he's got a lot of roaches. He's just making roaches right now, and
Fantasy is not aware of what is about to happen. No turrets at the natural.
This is going to be potentially game-ending.
Yeah, well, Fantasy is just trying to catch that Overseer off guard, and here comes the roaches. Fantasy does see something moving on the ground, but does he actually notice it?
I don't think he's going to notice that. He's building a bunker right there. He's going to be able to figure out he can't. Oh, no. Fantasy, he has no idea what's coming his way right now. The roaches going all the way into the main base here. Fantasy does not notice. There's some roaches also going to the natural as well. They're going to be unburrowed.
Oh, he finally noticed at the last second, however.
This is not going to be great for Fantasy. Now, the roaches, they're stuck in a weird position here. Widow Mine's going off, killing off some of the roaches at that third, but this is a multi-pronged attack from Soulkey here. And behind this, he's still got 66 drones, so it's not like this is all in or anything.
Now, Fantasy, if he doesn't lose too many SCVs, then he could still stabilize, because remember, it's a 3 command center. He could still drop the mules, but look at this. At the third base, he is pretty much uncovered. He needs the scans to kill those roaches, which is really annoying at this point.
Fantasy is multitasking, being stretched a lot right now. He's forced to use so many scans at this point as well. And that one command center is forced to go to the natural right now. Fantasy taking out most of the roaches here. There's still some left, though, and this has got to be so annoying for Fantasy to deal with. I'm sure he does not want to deal with broad roaches in his main base right now.
He's doing a nice shot fending off the roaches, but Soulkey already did the damage. 37 SCVs compared to 67 drones of his opponent.
True, and 151 supply to 95. But we have a siege tank up here, and it's doing good amounts of damage. It's going to force these roaches back now. But we have Hydras on the way behind this as well from Soulkey.
pretty much catch Fantasy off guard. He was expecting the roaches. He was expecting some kind of roach Hydra composition, but he just did not expect the tournament call from the third opponent. And also nice play on Burrows, sees a Wooden Mine, and then Burrows right after.
I like that he actually did that there. Soulkey is going to go ahead and grab his 4th base right now, getting the Hydra movement upgrade. Building more roaches and Hydras, just really staying on this tech. I have to say this was actually so cool.
Well, can Fantasy deal the same damage? Oh, he's going on top of the Hydras.
Fantasy, he's not paying attention here. Okay, there he goes. Barely escapes. One more hit and that medevac would be
if the Hydra
gone.
had if the Hydras were focused
on
no,
he could end up losing it.
No.
Did you? They kind of like went up. They like flew up into the heavens and then away.
I think the Hydras did not have enough vision, maybe.
It looks like they didn't notice there. Now, the disadvantage of this unit composition is the lack of defense against drops here. So now Fantasy moving into the main base with this composition.
But that's a lot of roaches and Hydras.
It's a lot of roaches and Hydras. Fantasy does have some tanks here, which is good against the Roach Hydra composition. And these units are going to be able to tear through the defenses at home. All of the reinforcements are going to be forced to stay at home. And the Wooden Mine's getting killed off by that superior range here. Soulkey moving in here. Does he have enough units to make this happen? These 4 tanks are going to be able to do a lot of damage, but the problem is the bio for Fantasy is getting completely obliterated. And the drop in the main base also getting taken out. Fantasy, what does he have against this army composition? It's 178, the 91 supply. Fantasy looking like he's been just thoroughly rooted at this point.
Nice mind games by Soulkey using the roaches and transitioning right into Roach Hydra composition. He does have 1 siege tank, but it's going to get taken out so fast by those Hydras. And Fantasy, well, he does save 1 of the siege tanks, but I don't think, Soulkey is still doing a nice damage. And behind this 10 roaches, infestation pit, and look at the number of Hydras and roaches streaming down on the map.
Exactly. GG is called. Fantasy, I don't think any